In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Balor is a huge fiend with an AC of 19 and 262 HP, with a movement speed of 40 feet and a flying speed of 80. They have amazing stats across the board, and have saving throws against Strength, Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma. In particular, the saves against Wisdom and Charisma are uncommon on many monsters, which tends to throw off many players. They also have advantage on saves against spells and magical effects, and all of their weapon attacks are magical, bypassing physical resistances. Balors have resistance to cold, lightning, and non-magical weapon attacks, as well as immunity to fire and poison damage. They cannot be poisoned and have true sight up to 120 feet, allowing them to see invisible creatures, see through illusions, and see through shape changers, which makes sneaking up on them with magic next to impossible. They have a fire aura that deals 3d6 fire damage on the Balor's turn to all creatures within 5 feet of it, and also deals the same damage whenever they get hit by a melee attack. The Balor has a multi-attack that allows it to strike with its whip and its sword, or it can choose to use its action to teleport up to 120 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. The long sword has a plus 14 to hit, a reach of 10, and deals 3d8 plus 8 slashing plus 3d8 lightning damage. Also, on a critical strike, it rolls its damage dice 3 times instead of twice. Its whip also has a plus 14 to hit, and has a reach of 30 feet, and deals 2d6 plus 8 slashing and 3d6 fire damage. It also forces a target to make a DC 20 saving throw, or else be pulled 25 feet towards the Balor. Finally, they have a trait called Death Throws, where upon its death, it explodes, making all creatures within 30 feet of it roll a DC 20 dex save. On a failure, they take 20d6 fire damage, or half as much on a success. As a DM, I would use the Balor as a final encounter for a dungeon or a quote-unquote boss battle. On its own, it will harm or kill most medium to higher level player characters, and poses a serious risk to all parties. It's listed as a huge creature, which means it takes up a 15 by 15 space, so throw its weight around, block players from seeing one another, and block exits, trapping people inside with the creature. I would start an encounter by having the Balor fly in around 20 feet or so above the players, using its whip to try and grab melee creatures from the ground. I would have it strike them while they're in the air, and then let them drop, dealing an additional 2d6 falling damage. After a round or so in combat, most of your players will have positioned themselves, or at least started moving to the places where they want to stand and fight. Most casters and ranged creatures will want to move far away. Don't let them. Use the whip and longsword combo on running ranged creatures to keep them nearby. Melee players will be dealt fire damage every time they hit, and every time they start their turn within melee range, so focus on long-range players first. Should a caster get further than 30 feet away and start bothering the Balor, have it use its teleport to appear right between them and the rest of their party. This singles them out and forces the melee classes to reposition. As the Balor gets low on HP, have it re-engage with the melee and closer range players, trying to clump them all close by. Balors are demons, and they know that a death on any plane will result in them reforming eventually in the abyss. So they may as well have their death result in the deaths of the adventurers foolish enough to be within 30 feet of them when they explode. In Irish mythology and folklore, Balor is one of the leaders of the Fomorians, giant magical monsters said to have come from beneath the sea. Balor is described as a giant with one massive eye that destroys all it sees when it's open. This is not the inspiration for the D&D Balor. In D&D, the Balor was originally called a Class 4 demon to avoid copyright issues with its inspiration, the Balrogs from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. The Balrogs are giant demons of shadow and fire that use weapons like a longsword and a whip of flames to subjugate and slay the denizens of Middle-earth at the behest of their lord Morgoth. Similarly, the Balors are demonic creatures of fire and shadow that use a massive longsword and whip to subjugate and kill creatures at the urging of their demonic masters. The lord of these Class 4 demons was originally named Balor, taken from the Irish myth, and this eventually became the name for the creature itself in 2nd edition. Funnily enough, Gary Gygax offered alternative names like Ralug and Conflagranti for the demon in his Gord the Rogue books. In comparing the creature to the myth, we find that only the name Balor is taken from Irish mythology. Everything else is heavily influenced by the Balrogs from Lord of the Rings. And really, who can blame them? The Balrogs sure as hell scared me when I was a kid, and they're just cool to look at. If you enjoyed that video, consider giving it a like and giving me a follow. And for more of my videos, you can find me on Twitch at Moglaroo, YouTube at Moglaroo Streams, and TikTok at Moglaroo Streams as well.